Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us this evening for our topic of growth experiences of the soul through reincarnation. I will introduce Reverend Gloria Cowther in a little bit, but first we'll start with our prayers for peace with the Buddha Boys.
Divine Creator, we ask that the light of highest awareness fill the minds and hearts of those who are open to your light. We ask that they be assisted and strengthened in their resolve to achieve peace using peaceful means. May their minds, their hearts, and their actions reflect the divine will to good for all. Comfort, strengthen, and support those who are in a difficult situation in their mind, body, or spirit. Bring confidence to them that your divine hand is at work in their life. Amen.
This evening is a talk from the Community Chapel of Holistic Healing. We are a non-denominational spiritual fellowship founded in 1977 by Reverend Michelle Luson, who was a mystic and channel for multidimensional consciousness. We have our website at CCWH.com for more information about us, and including you can download our affirmation, which we will be saying shortly. We have other programs that go on during the week, and we ask that you go there and find a way to come to us and learn a few of the wonderful metaphysical knowledge that we have been given from Michelle through her source. So tonight, we'll begin with our affirmations. They're the faith, hope, and charity affirmation, which we have always called the three healers because they balance all the energy systems in your body. The faith affirmation. I believe in the spiritual existence of myself as a perfect image of the divine creator. In this reflection, that is my physical embodiment, I have faith in the supreme guidance of my soul for my balance, needs, and opportunities. Outside of myself, there are also perfect images, and nothing can delude my thinking otherwise. The hope affirmation, acknowledging my faith in the omnipresence of my divinity. I hope for realization, awareness, and acknowledgement of the existence of the great I am within myself. And the charity affirmation, in understanding faith, in knowing hope, I pledge my actions, my desires, and my thoughts to the performances of myself on the physical planes of the earth, to honor, to love, and to enlighten all that is a reflection of the divine outside myself, so that my perfection is imaged back to my Creator. So help me God. Now, this evening, we are going to change our rotation of how we do things this evening. We're going to begin with a meditation, and following that, I will introduce our speaker. So, if you will, get comfortable in your seat. And those who have meditated know you are going to be taking your deep breaths, and with every deep breath you take, you're getting more and more relaxed. Breathing in and letting go. Please let go of whatever concern you had before you got to the program. It's not going to go away unless you solve it, but that's not for now. We stay in the now. Keep breathing deeply and rhythmically. Behind the closed eyes, You can begin to image a few of these elements of the meditation. However, I would like you to, if Spirit is taking you somewhere else, please follow Spirit within you, because that is the purpose of meditation. Guided meditation is only to help you get there. So we'll begin now by going to your front door in your mind's eye and find a path that goes to your heart. And the heart, the place you choose for your heart, is something quite beautiful and serene, uplifting, and just exquisite. It can be any place you have ever been or any place you would like to go to. It can be a building, inside of a building. It can be on the outdoors. Whatever you think would represent your beautiful heart. And you find yourself there now. And you enter and you are surrounded by the beauty of the universal heart within you. The elegance and the trappings and everything that is there that you are imagining that make everything exquisite. And this space is not small, it's quite large. Actually, your heart is never ending. It's part of the universal heart. But we'll look at this smaller space now. And I'd like you to find the altar that exists there, because this is where you meet your Creator. In your heart chakra, in your heart center, find the altar. Behind the tabernacle, the golden, perfectly beautiful, pure gold tabernacle, is the threefold flame that exists from your I Am presence, placed there when you entered this incarnation. And also there is the end of the silver cord that connects you directly to your Creator. And for this time, I would like to read Patricia Cota Robles' meditation I found to be particularly beautiful. I am my I Am presence, and I am one with the I Am presence of all humanity. What I invoke for myself, I invoke on behalf of every person on earth, in perfect alignment with each one's divine plan and the highest good for all concerned. Now, on the breath, on the holy breath, I now breathe in and out deeply and rhythmically through my heart chakra. With every in-breath, I align with the divine love of my Mother God and the sacred fire breath of the Holy Spirit. With every out-breath, my Mother God opens my heart chakra to new breaths and projects her comprehensive divine love into the physical planes of the earth. So taking a breath in, you're aligning yourself with your divine love of your Mother, Father, God, and the out-breath is being sent into the physical planes of the earth through the Divine Mother. Through this activity of light, the portal within my right brain hemispheres and my heart chakra, through which the love of my Mother God originally flowed to bless all life on earth, is once again opening to full breath. As the divine potential of my Mother God's pink flame of love pulsates through my heart chakra, it is brought into perfect alignment with my Father God's blue flame of power within my heart flame. This newly balanced heart flame has a dual pulsation. The first pulsation is the in-breath, assimilating and absorbing the power and love of my Father, Mother, God. And the second pulsation is the out-breath, expanding and radiating out the power and love of my Father, Mother, God. On the in-breath, my heart flame extends up in vibration, piercing into the very heart and mind of God, the source of never-ending perfection. On the out-breath, my balanced heart flame radiates the blessings from the heart and mind of my Father, Mother, God into the physical plane of earth. On every in-breath, my heart flame ascends into new heights of divinity. And on each out-breath, through my fully open heart chakra, my heart flame becomes stronger pulsation of my Father, Mother, God's blessings into the world of form. Because of the dual activity of my in-breath and out-breath, my heart flame is both the portal into the pure land of boundless splendor and infinite light within me, as well as the source of all of the divine blessings from my Father, Mother, God to humanity and Mother Earth. My threefold flame is also the inward portal for my return to Christ consciousness and my open heart and mind, telepathic communication with my I am presence and the company of heaven. Now, the portal through which my Mother God's divine love originally flowed is open to full breath. This is allowing the blue flame of my Father God's power and the pink flame of my Mother God's love to be perfectly balanced within the divinity of my heart flame. These two aspects of my Father, Mother, God now merge into the magnificent violet flame of God's infinite perfection. This sacred fire now blazes up from my heart chakra and expands into my physical brain structure, recalibrating my pineal, pituitary, and hypothalamus glands and the ganglionic center at the base of my brain. This recalibration of my spiritual brain centers creates the sacred space for the opening of my crown chakra. As this occurs, a greatly intensified frequency of the yellow gold flame of wisdom, enlightenment, and illumination and Christ consciousness begins flowing from my I am presence into my pineal glands. This intensified yellow gold flame is anchored within my heart flame, completing this greatly intensified expansion of my Father, Mother, God's blue flame of power and my mother's pink flame of divine love, and the son and daughter of God's yellow gold flame of Christ's consciousness within my threefold heart flame. With this influx of light, the full divine momentum of Christ's consciousness flows through my crown chakra and my pineal gland into my mental and emotional bodies. As I return to Christ consciousness, my heart and mind are recalibrated to higher frequencies of oneness and reverence for all life that I have experienced through humanity's fall from grace eons ago. In this enlightened state of Christ's consciousness, I am able to easily communicate with my I Am presence, my Father, Mother, God, and the entire company of heaven through the natural process of open heart and mind telepathic communication. I realize now, as never before, that Christ consciousness is my divine birthright as a beloved child of God. Through this level of consciousness, I am one with my Father, Mother, God, and every particle and wave of life throughout the whole of creation. As I live, move, breathe, and have my being within the awakened state of Christ's consciousness, I realize that my Father, Mother, God have, and all that is mine. I now know that the path of divine love leading to Christ's consciousness is the way, the truth, and the life for every child of God. For this, I am eternally grateful. And so it is, beloved I am, that I am. Now bringing back with you this complete alignment with the Christ within you into your daily life. Embrace it now. Claim it as your own reality for this lifespan. Embrace it every day. Know that you have it there, existing constantly within, knowing it is supporting you, uplifting you, and guiding you in absolutely everything that you do and think and say. And with this great blessing of the Christ, you surround yourself with a great light and begin now the process of just reintegrating and being still in your heart, kneeling before the altar where your threefold flame exists. Give thanks to God now for this amazing opportunity to be of service within yourself and therefore to all of creation because of your alignment. And you bring now your awareness back as you exit the heart and return. Return through your front door, and as you are taking your seat, you are reintegrating. You are now returning to the three-dimensional consciousness, and you are back with the blessings of your own Christ self. And now, I'd like to introduce this evening's speaker, Reverend Gloria Kauser, one of the first ministers to be ordained in our organization by Reverend Michelle Luson many years ago, and who has contributed so much in her multiple ways. She has been able to be the builder in the communities around in this United States and be a source of light for many people as she has gone through life. Tonight's topic will bring you now into an awareness of how your journey in reincarnation has built your life little bit by little bit to be this present state that you are in. I'll turn this over now to Reverend Gloria.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you for that beautiful meditation, and having had the pleasure and the opportunity to meet Patricia Cota-Rotos. I understand she is quite amazing with the power of the spoken word to bring about those higher frequencies, tap those higher frequencies and take us into higher consciousness as a result. Before I get into the topic, I was hoping that the cutoff of the topic name on our calendar wouldn't set us back as far as attendance tonight, so we can decide later whether or not we want to return to it at another time. So the growth experiences of the soul through reincarnation is what we want to delve into. It's I always find these topics representing more than what they seem, but we'll take a stab at it tonight. But in order to do that, I need 2 to 3 volunteers of those of you who are present to do me a favor to help me out. What I'd like you to do is to, and if you will indicate who might be willing to be a volunteer. I don't know if you can raise your hand on screen or from the place where you were at to let me know who might be a volunteer. What I'm going to ask you to do is not very hard. It's simply to write down one or more questions that you might have, that you might ask towards the end of my talk regarding the growth experiences of the soul that you might have, or instead of a question, that you might share a short story or mention or synchronicity, past memory, or a dream experience that you had that indicated to you something about your past life. I need to see a show of something, a hand or a comment. Who might I be able to call upon at the end? Was that Joy?
Mm-hmm.
Joy, Copeland is one. Who else can join to help by asking a question at the end? I only see Kathy and David. And Brenda, I don't know if you're still here or that makes sense for you, since you're engineering tonight. We lost Rob along the way. Kathy, are you willing? I'm not sure if we still are. David? Don't be shy.
Gloria, this is Rob Roberts. I'm back, but I'm
Okay.
having technical difficulties. My phone speaker doesn't work unless it's on speaker. So it suddenly goes out sometimes, and that's what happens. That's why I disappeared. So
Oh,
probably
okay.
best if I don't participate.
Well, just to have a question that you might raise
Okay, I might.
is the need.
Okay.
Okay, or a comment. You're pretty good at that. I've noticed. Okay. Well, we'll go with Rob and Joy. Okay, and we'll stop sometime at let's see, it's 7:30 now. And we'll stop around 8:10 or 8:15, probably 8:10, and go with the questions and comments. Those of you who may want to make comments as well, you're welcome to do so. I'll just jump right in because it took me to a lot of places to expound on this topic of growth experiences of the soul. Reincarnation is a big bite. Many Eastern philosophies and the theological teachings across the country, as well as in other places, other continents, take the view that as human beings, we experience rebirth following death of the physical body. And in the East, it depends upon karma, with the notion of karma that is less known or less talked about in the West. In the West, the subject of being born again is often spoken of as resurrection of the physical body and having an ultimate destination of existing in either a heaven or a hell at the end of life. I also mentioned that the Church of Rome avoids mention of reincarnation in its scriptures, as do most of the Protestant Bible versions. So is it of any wonder there exists confusion as to what may be true about reincarnation? We know, having been associated members of CCWH, that a spiritual awakening process is occurring. And this process is shedding light upon the divinity that exists within each of us as souls, as well as the prospect for our ascension through higher levels of consciousness. This self-awareness is expanding into the realization that we exist multidimensionally as cosmic beings, not simply as earth beings, but we are cosmic beings as souls. As such, our souls possess everlasting life, for which reincarnation provides us with opportunities for growth. Now, a lot of people belong to belief systems and religions that presume or talk about having everlasting life, but do they really believe that? Do they know what that means? We're going to explore reincarnation tonight and its meaning to understand how this occurs. The healing, the opportunities for growth, for healing, and for further enlightenment, and much, much more, is what comes to us through the experience of reincarnation. The multi-dimensional soul that we possess grows through its spiritual blueprints and lifetimes. Now, many of us have had the opportunity of receiving a life reading from Michelle Luson. How many of us here received a life reading from Michelle? She was the founder, of course, of our organization, our church and spiritual community. And it's important to note that for many, the event was and perhaps continues to be life-changing. I know for me it was life-changing. As the first time I ever heard about anything about the soul broken down, I had come through a Catholic upbringing, and half of that was Protestant because my father and mother had different faiths. It was through Michelle's brave dedication and teaching, along with others such as Edgar Casey and Mark and Elizabeth Prophet. How about Dolores Cannon or Brian Weiss? And even today, recently, Suzanne Geisman, just to name a few. Through these folks and others that we've come to learn about being a soul, having a human experience. My individual guidance through Michelle's source often centered upon having a spiritual blueprint for living, a higher purpose, and the importance of choosing a spiritual path. From my Akashic records, the source explained that during one or more previous lives in Egypt, I had developed karma. Hence, I was incarnating with the need for additional learning. Opportunities to heal, to resolve, and to evolve from those karmic effects unfolded many times to me over the last 45 years that I had a career in public and nonprofit service with low-income housing and the people in need of housing, better housing and shelter. It's been nearly 5 decades since channels like Michelle pushed through the religious bias and superstition surrounding the role of channels, and that new paradigms have come into place to expand our understanding of the universe. New discoveries, particularly in the science of physics, have been proven to reveal that a quantum field of energy, particles, and waves underlies our third dimension space-time reality. Moreover, it suggests that the universe and everything in it results from or is created by our consciousness, along with our beliefs of what we expect as reality. I don't know how many of you know of Greg Braden and read some of his material. He's quite the author. He certainly stands out as an exceptional person among the science community. He claims first and foremost he's a scientist. His recent book is titled The Pure Human. And in it, he asserts, when we witness another person transcending limitations that we've accepted for ourselves, we must choose to either discount what we've seen, viewing it as unattainable, or to accept what we've seen and shift our belief system to accommodate the new belief. A bell went off when I read that, because he's talking about how do our beliefs change when people are so firmly fixed in things that no longer make any sense and have been proven false. It's when we witness the transcendence of those limitations, or we experience them, that we're willing to shift our belief system and accommodate new information. Today, we're living at a time of accelerated change, a time of accelerated change. And very often, the national media depicts us as a world mired in chaos. But by comparison, that same media does little to inform viewers of local efforts or alternative approaches to reduce or eliminate the malaise. And when I say the malaise, I'm talking about political polarization, economic inequality, social conflict, global violence, and the environmental devastation. Considering the recent quantum energy discoveries that I mentioned earlier, these humanity's visible imbalances, such as the polarization and the inequality, etc., these things reflect projections of personal beliefs and inner consciousness, both individual inner consciousness and collective consciousness. And the consciousness that is maintained, producing those outcomes, are life depleting, and they call for significant healing. Spiritual teachers like Patricia Cota-Robles and others, in particular, the organization that she helped found, the Era of Peace organization, is sponsored by the Company of Heaven. And you'll have to dig a little deeper into or look it up on your computer to find out about this beautiful organization. They advocate that our request for healing of what's going on and spiritual intervention to help us transform it must come from those of us on the earth planes where the need exists. I'll say that again. The requests for our healing and the spiritual intervention that can assist us to tackle these issues must come from those of us on the earth planes where the need exists. For the last 38 years, the Era of Peace group has held international events and been linked to and served as a storehouse of higher information from cosmic beings and ascended masters. They've done this for light workers around the world, and their work has contributed greatly to the understanding of how a divine plan is unfolding and being aided by higher intervention. They have weekly blogs, they call them, where they get messages from the cosmic beings and break it down and explain it to us by the power of the transmission. This is not to say that people in other parts of the world have been left out or they lack centers and spiritual communities for transforming what's going on in their settings. Light workers and light warriors exist around the world as healers, as teachers, as seers and counselors. And new roles are emerging. Mystics from a wide variety of indigenous cultures, religious traditions, and spiritual communities have become more visible and active, particularly since the harmonic convergence, bridging their knowledge and their experiences through the internet. The internet has played a tremendous role in bringing us better together in a oneness, so that we can participate in seeing things more holistically, and that we are part of a greater whole. Now, just as we have observed at CCWH, many light workers, ourselves and themselves, with being around the world, we see ourselves as part of soul groups that have volunteered, and even some have originated and told they've been originated from other star systems. How many of you have heard of such origins as the Pleiades or Arcturus or Sirius or Andromeda and other places in the cosmos, serving a purpose presently to help during Earth's current shift and transformation? And that it is being revealed that some of these have been active for a long time, longer than we were aware of, or longer than the time that the awareness was made public. Recently, there was a Senate hearing where the government had to admit that the Area 51 incident had happened for real. And when asked if they had the parts of the ship that had crashed, they had to answer in the affirmative. Yes, they did have the parts. And they further asked them, well, did you have were there any bodies that you retrieved from the wreckage? And they said yes. And they further described, when asked if these bodies were human or non-human, they said they were non-human. Surprise, surprise. Well, that's a little peek at where we're headed in some of the expansion that's taking place and the revelations that are being made about what reality really exists as. There was groundwork and research by a number of people during the 60s and 70s. I mentioned Edgar Cayce. There's a woman named Gina Sermonera, who they would always talk about having written a book about previous lives. Another guy by the name of Ian Stevenson, Herbert Perrier, wrote a book called Why Jesus Taught Reincarnation. You can still get it from the Cayce Institute. Brian Weiss wrote extensively. He's a physician that wrote extensively about reincarnation, titled Same Soul, Many Bodies, and others. Their interest in this subject, and they're writing about it, coming forward, in spite of the scientific credentials or healer credentials that would doubt the veracity of what they wrote about. They put forth these publications, and as a result, increased considerably the interest of people in this subject, especially under folks who are under 30 years of age, and that still is the case. More young people have been known to take a greater interest and be open-minded about reincarnation, according to a 2025 study by the Pew Institute, the Pew Research Center, which tracks a lot of stuff around the world and in different countries. This center, the Pew folks, found that beliefs about the afterlife, just published last year, they found that a large majority of countries around the world, of those people surveyed, believed in God. Approximately 83% of the countries where they conducted the surveys concluded that their populations believed in God. Nearly all of those surveyed, 100% of Muslims and Christians believed in God. 71% of Jews believed in God. Fewer Buddhists, and that was surprising to me, actually believed in God, 45 to 77%. And of those who had no religious affiliation, in or around 10 or 12% still believed in God. Although 56% of all the people surveyed believed in nature spirits, which was kind of curious. Yet there is less substantial belief in reincarnation on average. Surprisingly to me, or maybe not so surprising, the majority of the countries where people had the greatest belief in reincarnation had locations in Africa, South America, Australia, Thailand, Japan, and Israel, were the majority, again, of those surveyed. And that was surprising to me because I thought India would be right up there. Also less so in Korea, and the fewest of people who believed in God who were surveyed came from places like Europe, including Poland, Sweden, and Turkey. Under 12% of the persons in those surveys expressed a belief in God. It's, of course, you have to take into account the shape of the survey and the definitions used. So I want to go to the definition of reincarnation to get an understanding of what may be happening here, or how we can view this. How is reincarnation defined? It can be defined in several ways, depending upon the viewer's perspective. Is the perspective from the third dimension, or the fourth dimension, or as we're moving into the fifth dimension? 3D is considered a linear perspective because the minds of in the 3D, or the third dimension, which is the predominant dimension that we interact with folks here on Earth, our past, our present, and our future, they're talked about from a linear perspective, the linear mind. And sometimes at least they talk about the past, the present, and the future in terms of it being a wheel of rebirth. And life after death isn't always well understood or accepted. From a higher perspective, the illusion of time does not stretch out, but timelines occur concurrently. And more as people get into the experiences and the consciousness of the fourth and fifth dimension, they see that, and they realize that the past, the present, and the future are actually simultaneous. But let me point you to a resource where I drew from the work of Suzanne Geisman. She's a channel who is active a lot with the Unity Church as of late. She has put together what she calls a compassionate bot. You know what a bot is? It's a computer term. Okay, so it's a similar to like AI, and more people are putting together these bots. It's a compilation of information, research findings, data that represent what's been inserted in it. It has usually does not have any empathy or does not reflect any consideration of spirituality when you look at the regular AI responses, or if you happen to use AI online. But it can, depending upon who its maker is. And in Susan's bot is entitled Awaken, AWAKIN.com. And she calls it a compassionate bot. And in it, you can ask a question and it will develop an answer based upon what she has inserted as information that she has provided. And in it, she says, reincarnation is a concept found in many spiritual traditions and philosophies around the world. And it generally refers to the belief that the soul or consciousness is reborn into a new body after death. This cycle of birth, death, and rebirth is often seen as a process of spiritual evolution or learning, where each life presents the soul with opportunities for growth and enlightenment. The views on reincarnation can vary widely. In some Eastern traditions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism, reincarnation is closely linked to karma, as we said earlier, which is the idea that our actions in this life affect our future lives. The cycle continues until the soul achieves liberation or enlightenment. In Western contexts, reincarnation has been explored through the works of philosophy, literature, and sometimes esoteric spirituality, often focusing on past life memories and spiritual progression. Some modern interpretations, like those described in accounts of near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, view reincarnation as a natural process of consciousness, allowing individuals to choose or prepare for their next life as part of a continuing journey towards unity with a greater consciousness, or union with source, as some folks put it. What is the role of consciousness in the reincarnation process? What might that be? Consciousness plays a pivotal role in the concept of reincarnation, acting as both the guiding force and the essential entity that undergoes transformation and evolution through successive lifetimes. Here's a few key points. Multidimensional consciousness, for example, according to some perspectives, like those found in spiritual and philosophical texts, consciousness is not limited to a single lifetime or three-dimensional reality. It is considered to be multidimensional, expressing itself in various forms and realities simultaneously. This idea of multidimensional consciousness implies that we contribute to the development of the soul by our thoughts and our feelings. Consciousness in this context uses the opportunity of each incarnation to gain wisdom, to evolve, and to come closer to a state of enlightenment or liberation. Another point is that of interconnectedness. Consciousness is seen as intricately linked to other units of consciousness and the greater universal consciousness. This connection suggests that individual reincarnations are not isolated events, but are part of a broader network of evolving consciousness influenced by past actions and experiences. We're part of a greater whole, not only here on Earth, but beyond. We are not simply humans living on Earth, or souls having a human experience, but we are also souls having a cosmic experience. There are levels and configurations. We are parts of the galaxy, for example, and beyond. Another key point has to do with the natural process. Some philosophies suggest that reincarnation is a natural process within the evolution of consciousness. It's a continuous cycle where consciousness gathers energy for its next incarnation, aligning its form and experience with its growth needs. Now, these concepts invite individuals to reflect on their own consciousness and its journey, offering a lens to view their life experiences as part of a larger, interconnected spiritual evolution. You may find it valuable to meditate on your own experiences that have contributed to your growth and understanding of yourself and of others in this journey of consciousness. I want to pause right here because I only mentioned the idea of Akashic records once in what I've spoken to you, but Akashic records play a large part in the documentation of previous lives. And the reason why science can't attest to the Akashic records is because it's not a 3D, dense set of books. In order to get to the Akashic records, you have to raise your vibration and expand your consciousness. But more and more, that's becoming a doable phenomenon for individuals, and there are more and more persons have become through their work on self and their spiritual development, persons who can read the Akashic records for others, similar in a manner to what Michelle did for some of us. And they are operating in many parts of the world. Dolores Cannon, how many of you are familiar with Dolores Cannon and her work? Because she was a counselor for many years. And in fact, Patricia Cota Robles was a counselor for many years. Dolores Cannon came up with a method of doing past life regressions that has stood out above many others. And her daughter, Julia Cannon, is now at work. She has built up for people in the counseling profession, certified counselors, a way to become proficient in the past life regression method that Dolores developed. And I've spoken to a counselor here in Maryland who became quite interested. He was raised in a family that believed in spiritualism, and so after he became a counselor, he wanted to learn this method and he now uses it in his practice. So this is available now. I have come across some very I think interesting, but I think useful books. But one is by Melissa Fake. If you can see, let me see if you can see this. I don't. Can you see this? Yes or no? No.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. The title of the book is A Radical Approach to the Akashic Records. Master your life and raise your vibration. And Melissa Feck, F-E-I-C-K, okay, she is a founder of something called the Spiritual Expansion Academy. She teaches people how to do this personally. When I went to the Era of Peace International Congress in 2024, I met a woman from Australia who was an Akashic reader and who had written books based upon her personal experience in becoming such through the problems that her and her husband faced with raising their daughter who had been mentally ill. And she now teaches past life regression and has workshops that she provides. Another person is Linda Howe. Linda Howe taught many people a method that seems to work with them. Discover your soul's path through the Akashic records, taking your life from ordinary to extraordinary. So this stuff is showing up now, and the people who can do it are also becoming visible. And so I used to think that, well, when Michelle goes, who's going to be out there that you can believe in or have faith in, who can do this type of work in a valid manner. And I feel that very much so people are showing up and being prepared and able to be of service in this fashion. I'll pause right here because I think, yeah, we're at 8:08. 8:08, and maybe we can go into some of the questions that I asked you all to think about. I went to brunch today with my grandson and his wife and my little great grandson, and I used them as a test to tell me what questions they had with respect to reincarnation. In fact, their oldest son, Arion, was my great grandson who sat and told me all about his past life in the military one day. It blew my mind. And I told his parents, and they updated me and said, and when we ever go someplace to like the museum and we see planes and tanks and things of that, he tells me what they're for and how they work and who works them. So this is quite close to home for me as a reality. Okay, I'm gonna stop now, and I'm gonna go to Joyce, since you were brave enough to volunteer first. What questions do you have with regard to the subject of reincarnation? Or do you want to tell me of your experience?
Well, I have questions.
Mm-hmm.
Question. Yeah, and I kind of went all over the place because my beginning question then became other questions based on things that I've been told or found out in the past. We go through our various reincarnations, and it seems that we end up being reincarnated near other people that we knew before that have been reincarnated. Have you heard of this before? Like somebody now used to be your mother in another life, and now that person is your daughter, or
your son.
right, or your son. And it's almost like the reincarnations are happening in groupings of folks that are souls that are traveling together, that you keep running into.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What I was able to find out about that, and I agree, because I've been told in the readings that I've had that for example, I had a relationship with my son, in order to be his mother in this life. He was my mother in a previous life when I was a son. And I thought that was interesting. And it felt like that's the way things work, that you're in a soul group, or you can be in a soul group. Relationships are vital in the reincarnation journey. And there can be soul contracts. Before we reincarnate, there's what's called, some call these soul contracts, or discussions with other souls. And we choose to share a lifetime with certain individuals who are going to become our teachers in that lifetime, or companions. And this is set up ahead of time. And of course, there's free will. Those that you identify to have the relationship with have to agree to serve that purpose going forward, and help you with the lessons that it is that you are to learn. And some of those lessons don't have to be pleasant. They can be quite opposite of being pleasant. But yeah, I think that there are soul spirit groups, that we do things in groups. And we can identify, for example, relationships we may have had with our siblings in a different constellation than the constellation we're in now. Anybody else want to comment on that? That idea, the soul contracts? Okay. Does that answer, or does that help address?
Well, yeah, I mean, it seems like the groupings is just another aspect of all of this. And the other question had to do with the karmic debt in the book that I'm reading now, which I had for a long time. I held on to it, and then I decided, oh, I better go ahead and read it. Was talking, it's the autobiography of a yogi.
Yes.
Yeah, and
Amazing book.
they talk. He talks a lot about karmic debt, and working off somebody else's karma, or in having to return again to keep working off the karma. So,
And of course, that came from a lot of the mention of karmic debt comes from India and places like India in the
right,
East. And in particular, Paramahansa Yogananda, the author
yes,
of the
right,
biography,
right, yeah,
mentioned and provides some explanations for that. I imagine that given where we're at in 2025,
mhm,
and that the Earth is 5.5 billion years old or more, that there's been a lot that has happened where civilizations have risen and fallen, where people have been destroyed, families murdered, people, a lot of the bad stuff occurred that triggers under spiritual law the need for consequences, cause and effect. That's the simple definition of
mhm,
karma is cause and effect. And so if you create a cause, you're going to have to receive the effect at some point. And how does that happen? Michelle's source told me once that karma as a chain does not have to follow people forever and ever once the realization is made of the lesson, and that it is released as a chain once that happens. And that can, I believe, happen in many different ways, not just another murder or another abuse or incident that way. And it can work in reverse for positive effect, that you have good karma that comes back.
mhm,
I've heard the source talk about a story where a young man went into the military. He avoided being sent into combat on numerous occasions. It was puzzling as to how it would happen, because even one time another soldier volunteered to take his place so he wouldn't have to go into the area where it was dangerous and that people were fighting. And it was explained that in a previous life, this soul had been one who had protected the men that he was in charge of, who were in a war situation, from being used as fodder to be
mhm,
slaughtered as part of the war strategies, and that he took a lot of heat from playing that role of saving lives in that fashion. And so in this life, he earned the opportunity not to have to undergo death by being killed in action, in warfare. So that was interesting.
Mm.
Okay, Rob, do you have something you want to contribute?
Yeah, actually quite a bit. Greg Braden was actually on Joe Rogan recently.
Mm-hmm.
And I haven't seen the whole thing, but I'll tell you what, he was doing a magnificent job talking to Joe Rogan. So I would encourage people to take a look at that.
Mm-hmm.
Something else about past lives has come up in relationship to the medical beds, which now actually, at least as of today, there's published information on them on Judy Byington, which is on today's date on Before It's News. And you guys are welcome to go take a look at that. It's an hour and 9 minutes, and it gets into the politics of the Middle East, etc. I guarantee you won't be disappointed with that, although it starts out with child trafficking and things like that, which is threatening to a lot of people, but it's stuff we need to talk about. And also, one of the things about the medical beds is that our memory apparently in our brain is that area is relatively small. And where we store information is in the so-called water in our body. However, it's not regular H2O, it's what they call structured water. And it's, I think, 302 is the number they give it. And I have read several times that when people go through these med bed procedures, that they come out really healthy, of course, but also they have past life memories frequently.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a really wild aspect of it. And my personal experience with past life memories is, I want to think how old I was when I did the first one. I might have been in my 30s, early 30s or something like that. And it was just done as a meditation, actually. And then I did another one when I was in Northern Virginia at CCWH going to school. And that was done with, I'm trying to remember her name. She was half Jewish and half Black. What was her name? She ended
Now,
up here.
let me ask you this.
Sure.
Were the med beds something that were put together, a technology that was put together by people here on Earth?
Apparently, yes. And I say apparently, it's difficult to know the influence of the aliens that the Germans were dealing with, for instance, etc. And they were able to clone people back in the 1930s. Apparently, the Hitler had a chauffeur who looked exactly like him, and that's the one who ended up being burned and the body left behind. Although I think it's generally known now that Hitler lived long after World War II. But there's a lot of technological issues out there. I've seen some articles that purport to be reports of somebody going through an early version of the med bed in the actually early 1960s, and it's a short Army government report. And when I say short, I mean 1 page, and it's kind of a Sergeant Joe Friday thing, just the facts, ma'am, kind of a thing, a statement. And that gentleman had his cancer cured in 12 minutes, and it was stage 4. They did not expect him to live. Of course, he was sworn to secrecy and all kinds of other things, but There's no question that it's going to be a really big deal. There's other modalities out there, the infrared stuff that you can also get from sun gazing early in the morning or candle gazing. And that now for less than $50, apparently you can build one of these machines. And I saw a video to that effect and said, oh, okay, I need to know more about it. And lo and behold, this past Sunday, I was at a CC meeting and there was a guy there who had been in naval intelligence. And he said, you better believe you can build one for under $50. He said, Rob, I hope you do it. So there's lots of things now. And I think that with the timelines that you talked about going on at the same time, there's been a lot of things on the internet that I've caught from time to time about jumping timelines. And that apparently is where the book called Baron Trump that was published in the early 1900s came about. And that was basically about Baron Trump, the son of our president. And you know, how can people know these things? We all know, I think probably generally all know about the Q reports, and how can they be so accurate? Well, somebody's been able to jump timelines and figure out what's going on, and there's different machines that do that stuff. And I haven't seen any of them, but I've heard about them, and apparently with all the predictions that have been so accurate, it's pretty amazing. But one of the issues that I've discovered down here in Tennessee is reincarnation is something that most people do not want to talk about. They want to keep it simple. And, you know, you die, you either go upstairs or downstairs. That's how it is. And you're there for eternity.
That's
and
what I was, pointing out in terms of the beliefs that were surveyed across countries. Although
it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. So, you know, the question that I always ask is, you know, I know it's going to be wonderful to praise the Lord, but is there an eternity where everybody wants to do exactly that and only that? Or are we going to be sent back to learn things, whatever? It just, if we're built in his image, so to speak, aren't we going to have his curiosity? We're now finding out that with this healing wave thing that's emerging from the med beds, where when they disconnect people from the medical beds, they actually are healing at a faster rate than they were when they were hooked up to the medical bed.
And it's interesting you should mention the med beds, because I recently became aware of a couple in Australia, Pete and Roxy. I can't pronounce their last name. It's a married couple, and for a number of years now, they have been in contact and collaboration with the Pleiadians. We say there is a Pleiadian ship that they are linked with, and they have begun to provide some education as to some of the methods that they have learned on how to raise consciousness, and that they have been a conduit for some people to be taken up on the ship to the med beds on the ship and experience healing, along with other types of transformations. So I'm not surprised, because there are more and more now information being uncovered or revealed or broadcast about realities that we had no idea existed, and that and one channel proclaimed that we have no idea how much manipulation has occurred on the earth to humanity by other interdimensional I would call civilizations or beings that came to Earth with not the best intent. So there's a lot, to be exposed to and to hear about. And the question is, it still does not take away from the need that we have to understand ourselves and to
Not at all.
learn how to raise our consciousness and work in connection with our higher self to establish firmly the truth barometer within us, so that we are able to discern, what is a reality that is for the highest good, and what is not. So I want to, I guess tonight we've covered a lot, and we could probably keep going further and further out to some of the cosmic scenarios and topics. But I think I want to stop right now, because at some future date, I want us to have another program about the Akashic Records, and come back to that for people who want to learn more about the Akashic Records and the work that has been done since people like Michelle were so rare to provide that as a service. And how is that working? So thank you all. Thank you all for tuning in. I hope it was informative, and that it perhaps motivates you to kind of follow up on some of this stuff, because things definitely are accelerating and changing, and knowledge is expanding through raising your vibration and raising your consciousness, that we can take advantage of. So thank you very much for your attention and tuning in, and we'll meet you again.
Thank you very much, Gloria.
Mhm.
Very enlightening. So we'll end with our appeal for, as if you were in church, we'll take up our collection to our PayPal site on our website. And I would like to offer the prayer. Father, Mother God, you are the giver of every good and perfect gift. Give us grateful hearts that we may share freely with others all you have given us. Amen.
Yeah.
Now I'd like to end with our traditional "Let there be peace on earth."